It'd been pretty hazy in my neck of the woods for some time now, but during this particular spring break time frame, it was more hazy than normal and the weather was acting up as usual. And I was still having to work through some personal situations, and so I came out to a place. I went out to Big Bend National Park, and you would want to come out to this kind of a place if you're an introvert like me. So I wanted to make a video that was able to let you know what a trip to Big Bend would be like as an introvert. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. It's 2025 spring break time frame in Big Bend National Park. It's about 90 degrees, and I'm about to show you the Santa Elena Canyon. You're gonna get an amazing view. You're gonna see some amazing geology. You're gonna be able to hear some absolutely wonderful sounds of nature, refreshing sounds of nature. You're gonna get to experience a lot of peace and solitude. You're gonna get to experience a lot of relaxing situations, like having an entire parking lot available to you. You're going to experience maybe a little bit of panic at seeing so many cars and people. And so you're really going to want to do exactly what I'm doing right here in this video clip, which was my opening hook to try and get you to see if this is not, in fact, an introvert's version of a trip to a place like this. I roam the desert at night. You'll rarely see me in the light. And don't you be so surprised if you don't see me at all. What am I? All right, so it's Thursday, March 20th, and I walked 9.14 miles, with about 2 of those miles being on an impaled foot. By that, what I mean is somehow there was a branch sticking out of the desert floor, and I guess it caught my foot at just the right angle, right underneath my the sole of my foot on my right foot, and right above where my sandal ends. And basically, like, imagine this is my foot and this is my sandal. The branch basically went like this, and I was moving my foot forward, so it got a little bit impaled, and I had to pull the branch out of my foot, and it kind of hurt. It hurt to the point where I was concerned that I might have some trouble making it back, but I had to make it back, so I kept pressing on, and this is what I've got. So take a look. If you're squeamish, fast forward a little bit. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to put together a show for you, but I really haven't had the spark of super joy in terms of the vibes that I'm getting. So Big Bend, it's dead to me, and so are you. What do I mean by that? Before you get all offended, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that I just visited Big Bend for the millionth time for an example of the barren land that I'm seeing right now. Barren. I just saw one bird earlier. I should have mentioned it. And it looked out of place. It's sitting on the side of the roadside, just running around, scampering around, looking for where can I get food. And there's all these people .
It might be hard to park it. And I can't be in their presence because I'm gonna showcase that. That's gonna bring people down. And what I mean is, it's gonna bring people down to earth. Where we're at right now. I'm already overburdening the system, using all the gasoline that I've used to get to the place that I know in my heart. Some of you who've been to these places don't really see with your heart. And you can't see the pain out here. I've been visiting this park since 1993 on a regular basis. This is perhaps my third time this year. I'm not really sure. I'm only certain that every time I come here I heal, but how can I do anything of value in return for a place like this? My parents want me to be something. They don't want me to be about something. Isn't that the same for most of you? I can't help but raise my voice and become passionate when I see what I'm seeing. Ice, the sun, all of this is provided at a different level than we're currently at. And we're on a journey to help each other to possibly achieve the unachievable. At no other time for humanity has it looked so dire here in Big Bend National Park. And everyone is just walking around blissfully ignorant. For a long time, that included myself. We're in a period of Lent where I'm at. And again, people are just not really reflecting on things. It's just constant scrolling. I've had my device off for some time. I've thought about just canceling the system, canceling the service altogether. I saw a bird. Every time I've waved, I've been waving at people driving by, and most of them are employees of some sort. Many are visitors. But what I mean is, they're on the way to do something to cater to the people that are coming here to unplug. And all I see is plugged in. A bunch of plugged in people who can't stop and see the urgency that would be required to not just be a bystander watching all of this happen without even taking a chance and rolling the dice and putting your effort into saying, hey, this needs to change. And immediately, again, we have a system that's supposed to listen to the people. The indigenous, I wonder what happened to their people. And here we are, the replacements. And again, synchronicity. On that message, I'm gonna call it a message, a video, a share. Call it a cry for help, like I've been doing in the past, asking for any help possible. If you were a kid and you liked going outside, you want to go outside. You still do as an adult. You want to go outside. You want to explore these unknowns. And if you're really a child at heart, you're going to see that what's being presented to you is something that's running out of life, running out of the ability to continue to sustain, and we haven't even stopped. As you see these areas, and as you see these challenges, and as you hear the synchronicities, you'll recognize we've all continued to escalate on the level of self, thinking that self is basically how everyone should be treated, but maybe we're not treating ourselves the best that we should be to begin with. And so we can't hardly treat another person with as much care and compassion as someone who is in love could do. Someone who has the joy and compassion can go out into these areas, see if something is hurting, and try to do what they can to help what's being hurt. And so I can pick up all kinds of trash, all kinds of sustainable cardboard things. I can pick up all kinds of there's things in the desert that you just would not believe you'll run across. For an example, the COVID era, the era that you are basically subscribing to when you continue to get your prescriptions, all of those masks are still floating about all over the desert, and people, of course, continue to wear them. Some absolutely, for whatever health requirements that they have. But in a lot of cases, we're perceiving things from a perspective that doesn't make sense because we're coming from a place of fear, and we've never opened our minds to think maybe we'll be healthier if we're outside more often. Could be. These wild animals have been surviving in this type of extreme. They're wild, and they're constantly working every day. So if we're equating each other to wildlife, what I'm saying is we're going to be a lot weaker if we never got up and competed all the way throughout life the way that it was meant to be played out. Instead, we're just basically going to grow pretty weak as a general population. Now, if you were to put the weak out in these elements, they would start dying. And when you start having entire species dying, like entire fields and acres and acreages and a national park full of giant dagger yuccas.
The giant dagger yucca is just one of many plant species that has been challenged by the inclement weather that we've had throughout the past few years here.
If you have all those things, just none of them are even green this year. If you had a period like that where you recognized that once you get to a critical tipping point where all of a sudden things are dying in front of you in the ecosystems, who do you think depends on those ecosystems for anything going forward, including food and water, for that matter, clean water? Who do you think provides that? It definitely isn't any of the companies that you've invested your stock options into, if you ask me. I'm asking you to click on the descriptions area, and if you can share somehow, I would love to be of greater assistance. Thank you so much for riding along on this journey. You're not really dead to me. I acknowledge everything that's out there, even the death, even the thing that many people are just too self-centered to really think about. You have to look at it from an external perspective, like really look at it in terms of finality, and think about what you're fearing. If you're fearing something and you can't understand what this video is about. If you understand what this video is about, I'm just saying, the timeline might be ticking, so might be good to just really observe what's going on around you, tend to it as best as you can, journal your dreams to try and figure out what your fears, um, how you can beat your fears every time. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to be passionate. Challenge yourself to go outside and compete by jumping rope. Challenge yourself to do something that's fun for the purpose of this was also something that we would do in order to keep young. We would have fun. And some of us basically might have lost the way. And that's all I wanted to say. So you're not really dead to me. You're just, for some reason, when we meet up, we don't really seem to have a full conversation. That's just my thoughts on everything. But until next time, again, I'm not selling you anything, but I would not be disappointed if I didn't have any kind of credit card debt. That would be great. That's really it. It's been difficult because right when I left my corporate career to explore these truths, right when I did that, not too long after that was COVID, but basically I left the corporate area in 2017 during the eclipse. I saw some peculiar things going on in nature with the way that crops of, let's say for an example, wild raspberries were growing or not growing anymore. And that directly led to certain things, like for an example, the coyotes that hunted as a pack hunted a woman in Yellowstone. I've seen interesting things like bears will defecate and basically another bear will come along and eat that scat. And those things are occurring because of exactly what I'm pointing out. There's a correlation. There's a link between all of this that I'm saying. And sometimes you can hear the confirmations from all the things around, like the slamming doors or the tires that went over the speed bump. Sometimes I don't know if you can, because I would have to be listening to this video, but you can decide, did this happen or did this not happen? Is this happening or is it not happening? Am I being arrogant or am I telling the truth? And the truth is, while I'm carrying this heavy sadness, actual sadness, and seeing some of the devastating things that I'm seeing, I'm also overwhelmed with joy for what I'm seeing in the way of life. The bluebonnets that I saw during this trip were so tall. Unbelievably tall bluebonnets. I don't want to disturb them. And also, last bit of water. It's real tough to get to. In the place that I normally go to see the I don't know, the best of the best. And being in the presence of that beauty brought me to another level of lucidity. To have clarity, to understand how many people would love to see those things. Maybe I just haven't offered the right way, to say, I think that I could show you a whole lot more in terms of video and what have you with just my iPhone than most people could show you with an arsenal of gear. But if you saw some of these things in person, you would understand how many things I'm not able to capture. You would see the interactions that maybe are a little bit more spiritual. I don't know if I'm sure you heard that. But some people might call it supernatural, some people might call it spiritual. And if you were open minded, like a child, to receive energy without being so fearful, you might want to come to the hot springs at night under basically either with a full moon or without a full moon, and to experience that during just the right time. Like, for an example, during this time frame when I've been in this park, has been genuinely satisfying. So it's hard for me to leave, but it's also challenging to stay, because when there's no vegetation and it gets to 95 degrees and that heat's radiating back and forth off of the desert floor, that can cause the extinction of different species of flora and fauna. And that's something worth bringing to the immediacy of the forefront of our attention. And speaking of, I've got a Ranger that just pulled up. The plates in front of my car, the plates on the car in front of me, end in 210. I don't know what that means to anyone out there, but to me it just means there's a lot of business, like I'm talking about. There's business going on where people are showing up to provide services to people who need services. I mean, to people who are visiting. And so it's just being operated as a business. It's not, nobody's really actually in the field. There isn't enough money being directed to these good people to even sustain hardly even the basic infrastructure that exists here. There's graffiti in the stalls that's political in the way that it's written. And that makes me think of all the other countries where we've seen on television in this country, if this is where you were from, US, from my perspective, our country and company are being eroded in certain ways, and that truck that just drove by was a prime truck. Like Optimus. Anyway, I've said enough. I just wanted to let you know and then reinforce a little bit further that you're not dead to me. I'm telling you a little bit of the insight that I've gleaned from visiting nature. Nature is restorative. The infrastructure is collapsing. People might withhold the ability for people to get into nature in its purest form, and those things will lead to an aging process that's advanced, and at the same time it could be averted by immersing yourself in nature right where you're at. And some people would say that you would do that with maybe have more plants, a little bit less plastic, and a lot more time outside. Tend to your resources that you have. You want everything that you're doing to be so immersive that it's almost like you were playing again, like a kid playing. I roam the desert at night. You'll rarely see me in the light. And don't you be so surprised if you don't see me at all. But you're not the last soul who I'll see tonight. And do you hear me anyway? Or are you still focused on the day? Sometimes your nightmare comes to play. Sometimes it's easy to overlook the storm shadow closing in on you tonight. They run and hide, what's the point? When did death ever disappoint? It's like a hammer to the joint. If you don't spark it at all, maybe your first blow will not be your last. I roam the desert at night. You'll rarely see me in the light. And don't you be so surprised if you don't see me at all. Except for on this channel, of course. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for helping share positivity. And thanks for helping me to smile again. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.